right, here we are, Prop the Mic, PTM, presented by Props.cash, coming to you on Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. On a special day, we have night one of the WNBA playoffs, and we have a very special guest here, Chris from Chris B. Cappin. How's it going, Chris?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you guys having me on. If it's sports, if we can find an edge, I bet on 2 cockroaches running down the street if I see one of them with a gimp. So, excited to be on and be able to talk, some WNBA and meaningful basketball, right? Like, this is the regular season. We know that, things get a little more competitive, especially for these WNBA series where it's, win 2 and advance and the higher seed gets the home court advantage, both games. So, excited to be able to talk it out with you guys, and got a couple of angles that I'm looking at. Excited to be on the show, man.
Speaking of betting on cockroaches, I moved to LA last year, and in Venice, they have a bar that has turtle races, and people gamble on the turtle races. So that made me think of that. So people gamble on anything, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So before we get started, I just wanted to put you on the spot here a little bit. We saw your Behind the Curtain series on the pod, and just wanted to turn the tables a bit here, and maybe just get a quick little background, like how you got into sports gambling and podding and whatnot, handicapping. So. What do you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you guys got for me? I'm here to answer anything.
No, I guess just a little bit of background, like how you got into this, like what made you start getting into sports gambling or whatnot.
So I love this question. So first and foremost, I think like most of us are, we're just love sports, right? We watch it growing up. We fall in love with it at a very young age, and for me, that's what it was. Like I've always been an athlete myself. Play sports throughout middle school, high school, grade school, travel teams, you name it, right? So then when you don't play anymore, you still have a passion for, watching it. I was that weird kid that would watch Sports Center back in the day with Stuart Scott, like 3 times in a row when it came on.
Yeah.
And just over and over again, like it was going to change.
Yep.
So, it's just always been a big part of, who I am. And then, of course, when sports gambling got legalized here in Virginia back in 2020, I would, one of my buddies said, hey, we should, download a couple of these sports books. And of course, because you watch sports so long, you think you can just naturally bet it too and make money off of it, right? You know nothing about it at all. It's super easy, right? I'm going to make so much money. This is going to be my new job, right?
There you go.
You upload a couple bucks and you lose it. Well, in my case, I uploaded a couple bucks and I lost it. And like going back to sports in general, I've just always been a competitor, right? I want to win. I don't care if we're playing Uno or chess or we're racing to a mailbox or anything. Like I want to win. So losing my money to the sports books made me feel like I got to figure out a way to get that back, right? Like I got to figure out a strategy. Like, so I would, start like listening to podcasts and finding out where people got their information from. And that's what kind of propelled me to be like, oh, this is my lane. Like I could definitely do this. So, naturally, I just started to listen to more people, find some resources that were helpful to be able to, cap these different sports and try to find an edge, right? It's always about finding an edge. How big of an edge we can find, it makes it a profitable bet for us, and then we kind of live with the results. So that's the way it started. I kind of grew and, kind of developed my own channel because I'm a student of life. I love to learn and I love to share information and knowledge as well. And that's what it kind of came of it. I started hosting shows every single day where I would just kind of break down my analysis for the game, whatever team or players were playing, and kind of tell people why I like them or why I wanted to fade them in certain spots. And it just kind of grew. Before I knew it, people were retweeting and liking and sharing and commenting, and other people started to like send me requests to like share their thoughts as well. And I was like, I didn't really ask you for your thoughts, but then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool to like bounce ideas off each other. So came into the thing kind of solo, and it's kind of just kind of blew up after that. And it's just really, really cool to to see people want to come together to extract money from the sports book. So that's where I kind of stand today. I've done partnerships and a bunch of different podcasts, and really just love the idea of sports gambling because not so much the losing part, but it's intriguing to see, and kind of deep dive into certain games and certain players to see how they'll perform and put money on it. It makes it even more exciting to be able to watch. So that's kind of a little bit of my journey of how I got started.
And you've definitely become essential listening, especially for me during the NBA season. It's I love checking in with you every day. So we definitely enjoy your work.
I appreciate that. A lot.
Yeah, I'll echo that. And I think you said something really important there about like being passionate about it, right? Like if the flame goes out, then move on and go do something else. So it's cool to see after all these years, you still got the excitement about it and love doing it. And we're the same way. That's why we do this, multiple times a week. So awesome that we're aligned on that. Great to have you on the show. Ready to dive into today's games.
Good? Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right. So like we said, WNBA playoffs kick off tonight. We got 2 games. this is our first season covering the WNBA. We kind of did it initially just to get some continuity with the NBA, and then Tom and I both fell in love with it and are so excited to go through our first round of playoffs. So we'll definitely have some great picks here. All right, so we got the Lynx at the Sun. That's the first game of the night. That's the early game. Sun are -9.5 at home, so pretty big spread. Totals 158.5. Just to give you a high level, the reason why the spread is relatively low. You got the eighth fastest team in the league in terms of pace, going up against the 12th in the last 15 games. So both these teams have been relatively slow, scoring, relatively strong in managing the pace of the game. These two teams played 4 times in the regular season. The Sun took 3 out of the 4. So Sun definitely have the upper hand. That's why they're getting all the points. Let's start before we dive into the player props. Chris, you got any thoughts on the game, the spread, the total 158.5, anything?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of thoughts, but what I'll share is, just kind of looking at this game, the Lynx have not been a team that you've necessarily wanted to lay a lot of points with at home. It feels like those are the games they've kind of taken their foot off the gas. And if you go back and just look through, their last 5 or so games at home, they kind of coasted. They do get a little bit of a rest advantage because I think their last 3 games were at home as well, so they haven't had to leave Connecticut at all, and that probably could bode well for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut also, I think some of what's in the line is they're much more experienced, right? The Lynx actually started the season off 0-6, and nobody even thought they were going to make the playoffs. And they're playing against a Connecticut Sun team, of course, without Breonna Jones, but this Sun team actually went to the WNBA finals last year and lost to the Aces. So, I think experience comes into play as well. They have seasoned veterans like Alyssa Thomas, like DeWanna Bonner. Stephanie White just won Coach of the Year through the AP Award. So I think all of those things are influenced by the spread. And then you look at this Lynx team. The one reason why I don't feel like I want to lay 9.5 points with the Connecticut Sun in this spot is because, like I said, maybe they just kind of been playing with us the whole entire time, and they absolutely turn up in this spot. But you look at the Lynx; they've actually been the best away dog team of the season. I think I got them at 11-6. Well, second best. 11-6 is road dogs this season. It's typically when they play their best ball. We saw them being a favorite in their last game against the Fever. It was a meaningless game, but I actually thought they wanted to win that game just for the simple fact that you win, then maybe you don't have to play against the Sun, right? Maybe you get a easier matchup, and they weren't down to do that. They lost as a favorite, and that was the second time that they've actually lost as a favorite, and both times it was against the Indiana Fever. So if you play on the Lynx, you do want to do it when they road dogs. The other reason is this, Dave. I think the WNBA format is pretty interesting in the fact that it's the best of 3, right? But because the WNBA wants to save money, I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. The
first 2 games are actually at the upper seeds home, right? So if you want to even go home and play like at your gym, you got to be able to steal one on the road, right?
Yeah.
So to even force a game 3 back at home. So I think that's another reason why, like, we're talking about competitive basketball, and there has been, I'll end by saying this, there has been a big, I would say, kind of separation between the top 3 teams when we're talking about the Aces, we're talking about the Liberty, and we're talking about the Connecticut Sun. I think those were the only 3 teams, maybe the Wings, that actually had a positive plus minus throughout the season.
Yes.
So a lot of parity in the those bottom teams and how they kind of navigate back and forth. But I don't think that they're not going to go out without a fight. I don't like that Jessica Shepard's already listed as out. That Lindsay Allen won't play in this game also. So I don't like that for the Lynx, but they do have some scrappy young players. They do have a head coach that's won multiple championships in her career. So if I had to lay, I can't lay 10 points with in a spot like this. Even though the Connecticut Sun are the better team, I just don't think that they win by 10.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, the other thing I'll add is I know you're into dissecting the game into its pieces, going for first quarter plays, first half plays. I don't have the data to back it up, but I can tell you just from watching some of the recent Sun games, they come out slow. They come out and they get in a hole quite a bit. So I could even see the Sun coming out, getting in a hole, and then, if they're down 5 points, that's a big climb to get to cover that 9.5. So I'm with you there. I like plus 9.5 tonight.
To me, I think it comes down to Kayla McBride. I think if her shot's falling, I think they cover that. If she's not hitting them from 3, then I think that 9 points, is probably makes sense. So I think she's the primary factor in that spread, to me at least. I think.
All right, cool, very good. All right, so let's talk about some players. So this one obvious player we're going to talk about, right? AT, just incredible. And Chris, I have to tell you, Tom and I, we went and saw a Sun game in person earlier this season, and guess who they played? They played the Lynx. And that's when AT put up that monster triple-double game. So we're excited to talk about her. So do you want to dive there, or Tom, you want to give a high level on kind of matchups?
No, I think let's just dive in. I think
okay.
We'll cover any of the matchups as we're going through them.
Perfect. All right. So what are you feeling about AT tonight, Tom? Start there.
All right. Well, it's hard to, like you just said, we were sitting courtside for that that game where she had 21, 20, and 12. It was like just phenomenal. One of the best performances in WNBA history. She's awesome. She's my pick for MVP. I think you can't go wrong with her tonight, whether it's points, whether it's rebounds, whether it's assists. To me, I think the biggest advantage she has is in rebounding. I think that's the biggest mismatch right here. Is just Minnesota is not good on the glass, and the Sun are. She like I said, she had 20 rebounds in that game that we went to. She had 14 in the other game they played in Connecticut. So I like her over 10.5 rebounds. I even like her, FanDuel, you can do this 12 plus rebounds. It's plus 235. I think a little AT rebound ladder could be nice. Her triple doubles plus 380. Another, I just think she comes out ready to perform tonight. What do you think, Chris?
I don't think there's a way to refute that at all. Right? I love AT in this spot as well. I won't beat a dead horse. I think she's live all the way around as well, Tom. I think it could be her points. I went back and looked, like even beyond this year, she's kind of hovered around at 15 points, even in the games that she played against them last year as well. She went over a couple times. I think her number is 15.5, and I want to say it's actually plus money over on Caesars. I want to say maybe like plus 103, 105 or something like that. But I like her assists. I just think that, looking at Stephanie White, she is going to, like, nobody plays more minutes, first and foremost. Like, and that was during a regular season, right? Some of these were like meaningless games. So now that she, knows that they have to win, and I think the Sun like to be dogs, right? Like in general, right? Like they're not predicted to win the championship or to even finish in second place when you think about the Aces and you think about the Liberty. So I think AT being out there for as much time as she will be, I think that only bodes for her being able to go over this assist line. She had 12, 11, and 16 assists in 3 of the 4 matchups that they played this season. So she's averaging 10.3 in the 3 games versus the Lynx. And you look at the Lynx defense, they actually give up the 3rd most assists on the season. Tom, I know you mentioned how poor of a rebounding team they were. I think I got them at 4th worst rebounding team overall. But I also got them at 2nd worst rebounding team since the All-Star break. So they've really struggled to rebound the ball. Already mentioned the injury that's going to keep Jessica Shepard out of this game. So you're really relying on, Dorcas Juhas to step in and play, valuable minutes. So I like AT all around, but I think I lean towards the assist. I also think it's worth a sprinkle. Is absolutely worth a sprinkle to take her 10 assists. If you can get that, if you have access to a book like Bet365, I want to say it's like plus maybe 350, 400. I was looking at the line earlier. I think it's all worth the shot tonight. Just given how many minutes, we think she's going to play and how competitive we think the game is, right? Like, I don't think the Lynx roll over. I just don't think that they can stop anybody. And AT is going to get the ball. She's a bully. She scores a lot in the paint. So, I would look towards her points, rebounds, and assist line, her rebound line, like you said, Tom. And I love the assist line. I think when I got it yesterday, it was minus 120 on DraftKings. I don't think it's moved too much, maybe minus 125. So you're playing a little juice for it, but I like AT a lot tonight.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that one game she didn't go over against Minnesota. She only played 28 minutes in that game. So, that's not, she's more than likely playing 40 minutes tonight. So, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just to throw out one other option if you really want to swing for the fences. Chris, we normally play in minus 120s and minus 110s, but every once in a while we'll drop one of those big parlays. 15 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, plus 750 on DraftKings. So if you want to go for broke, that might be worth a little sprinkle. So, all right, cool. So let's go back to you, Tom. Who else do you like in this game?
All right, you gotta go to her partner here, Bonner. I like her points also, 16.5 points. She's done it. It's minus 113 on FanDuel. She's done it in 9 of 11 at home when she's played 30 plus minutes this season. But the other one I looked at was, I like it. It was plus money. It was for her to have 2 plus 3s. Now, she doesn't get a lot of attempts, right? And she's not like a high percentage shooter. So she's going to need 5 or 6 attempts to get there, most likely. But in the 4 games against Minnesota, she went over in 3 of 4. And she's gone over in 7 of her last 10 at home when she's played 30 plus minutes. So I thought there was some nice value there on Bonner's 3s, especially with all the minutes she's going to be playing in a high leverage playoff spot here.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no way I could bet against DeWanna Bonner. I mean, I haven't been watching the WNBA forever either, like you guys, but what I do know is historically she's been really, really good. And every moment that feels like a big moment in like a Sun big game is when she steps up and plays her best basketball. When they beat the Aces earlier this season, she had 40 points. She literally could not miss. And I think now that they have meaningful basketball, we can see some of these star players start to kind of rev up to get into that playoff intensity. So it's no. I mean, she creates a crazy mismatch problem for anybody on that opposing team as well. No matter who you have to be able to guard her and slow her down. She's kind of like one of those players because she's so tall and she can get her shot off at any given time. She's almost like one of those players that you really just need to miss and really just hope that they don't catch fire because not only but so much you can do to kind of slow her down. So I could see that as well. And like kind of like what we said about AT earlier. We expect her to play pretty heavy minutes tonight. They kind of got the rest that they needed in that last game against the Chicago Sky when you saw Stephanie White kind of play with the rotations to make sure her players were going to be healthy and ready for a big time game like tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you bring up that 40-point game because that was the one that was early in the season, right? When they played, I think they played the Aces back-to-back games, and they won one and they lost one. But that was the one time we were still trying to figure out who was who in the WNBA. That was the one time we went under on Bonner. You remember that, Tom? And she put up 40 points.
Put up 40, yep.
So that was an early lesson in the season. You don't go under on DeWanna Bonner there. So, all right. So, Chris, you got any other picks, player props for this game?
So a sneaky one, Dave. I haven't played this yet. I haven't locked it in just for the viewers. But I'm very, very close to doing it. And I like fading rookies, especially when they're going on the road and especially when it's a hostile environment. You look at this Connecticut Sun defense, and this is one of the reasons I kind of lean towards the over in tonight's game. I think that if the Lynx are going to keep it close, then they're going to have to score. And I also think that the Lynx defense, I just don't trust it on the road. So I think it could be a higher scoring game. I know these are two of the slower paced teams, and I know the totals come down from 164 all the way down to 159, I think, in some books. Yeah. But I think Diamond Miller goes under tonight. I think her points prop is up to 11.5 on some books. And you just go back and kind of look at how she's played throughout this season. So she did go over in one of those games, but I want to say it was one of those. These two teams, when they played back to back, and I don't know if you guys remember, but the Lynx actually they covered one and won one, and they were down. I want to say Lavisha Collier didn't play in that game.
Correct.
So Diamond Miller may have went over, and because of that game, but so she did have 13 points in one game, and she had in the other game she only had 13, and she also had 7. Right. But to me, what sticks out even more is the field goal percentage. She shot 28% in both of those games. Right. So she's chucking. I don't think that the coach is going to leave her out there to be able to, keep chucking. She's also one of those players that plays extremely fast. I like Diamond Miller a lot. I just think that based on defense, I think she could go under. Connecticut has been the number one defense since the All-Star break. And it's a lot of what you guys talked about. They play at a slow pace. They play defense. And then for the whole season, they also have allowed the least amount of points in the W as well, 79, I want to say. So I think Diamond Miller can struggle to score in this spot, especially if someone like Kayla McBride gets hot from three. But the Connecticut Sun are one of the better defensive teams from the three-point line as well. So if I'm looking at an under, it will be Diamond Miller on the road in our first playoff game this year, under 10.5 points.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I was looking at that one too. I was a little scared because I saw her go off in that one game, but you're right. Collier didn't play in that game, so I think it's a good spot to fade the rookie. All right, cool. I got one more pick before we move on. You mentioned her before, Dorka Juhas, 7.5 rebounds tonight. So it's a sneaky one. I think it's only available on some of the DFS sites, Prize Picks and such. But let me just throw out a couple quick stats. This is more of a lean than a strong play, but she plays roughly 20 minutes a game when Jessica Shepard's in the lineup, 28 minutes when Jessica Shepard's out of the lineup. Her last 10 games when she's played 25-plus minutes, she's cleared this line in all 10 games. So I think it's a strong play. You said, the game will probably go over, but still it's going to be relatively low scoring. People are going to come out tight. You saw that Commissioner's Cup game where it was basically a playoff environment. Nobody could hit a shot for the first 8 minutes. That could very well be what happens tonight here. Lots of rebounds available. Dorka's going to get probably 25-plus minutes. I think she'll cash the 8 rebounds. All right, cool.
Nice.
Any other comments on this game before we move on, guys?
No.
I like that one, Dave. Like that one a lot. The other side, I think we'd be remiss without mentioning Lavisha Collier. I mean, like she's amazing. 22.5 points. I don't think that you could go wrong there if you look at her shot value. Just based on the couple games that they played, and just like she's their best offensive option as well. So could not talk anybody off of that. She's literally unguardable because of how she catches the ball, where she catches the ball, her just her shot creation. She has a pretty much unguardable step back that she shoots pretty much over anybody. So couldn't talk anybody off of her. I think we'd be remiss without mentioning her as well. Just a lean, but I didn't play it. But I do like Lavisha Collier to go over to 22.5 tonight as well.
Yeah, she's too good. She's too good not to mention. Thank you for bringing her up. Go ahead, Tom.
No, we didn't get into too much of the matchups. That is the reason I didn't get into as much, since the All-Star break. I think against opposing forwards, Connecticut's been by far the best team defensively against, limiting opposing forward scoring. So it's kind of why I'm off her. I mean, I love Fee, but she's, I think this is not the spot, but she is their primary offensive threat now.
Yeah, and she did put up 30 points against the Sun
Correct.
in one of the games earlier this season. So that's the thing about her. If she's on, she's going to score 30. If she's off, she'll score 16. So, but I think she's probably a stay away or a lean, like you said, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's the slow pace game. Let's get to the fast pace game.
Right.
So it's always the West Coast that in WNBA and NBA that we love talking about. Yeah. So all right. So next one we got the Sky, who were the 8 seed in the playoffs, going up against the number 1 Aces, defending champs. Earlier this morning, this was a 16.5 point spread. So Aces minus 16.5 at home, and total 170.5. So we love to see that when we like to play our overs, right? 170. These two teams played 3 times this season. Aces won the first game 93-80, second game 107-95. Wow. And the third game 94-87. So Aces kind of own the Sky, but the Sky are as Tom told me earlier today, have nothing to lose, and they're one of the hotter teams right now, kind of streaking into the playoffs. So what do you think here, Chris, in terms of spread, in terms of total?
Man, this one is tough, Dave. I feel like I've been dreaming about this game. I was looking at the line so long. But I mean, you mentioned it, Dave. It's a lot of nitpicking you can do, kind of, going on either side. Do the Aces turn into the Avengers and just start, cutting teams off by the head, right? And, they've heard the talks about the Liberty being better. They know that they have a lot to prove, and where they kind of just keep walking through, right? Like, I think about the Aces, like, I kind of think about the Denver Nuggets at a certain point last year when they had kind of locked up their number 1 seed. And it's like, well, what are we really out here playing for? Like, there's no reason to play hard. Like, let's go score a bunch of points and see if teams can keep up. And most of them can't, right? Like, this is a superior offensive team if we've ever seen one. I've seen them be compared to the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. Like,
right.
they're really that good, right? So in this game, going back and looking at the other games, I think you mentioned them, Dave, and gave out some great numbers. I'm only looking at the Aces team total. I like the team total just to kind of stay away from the spread. The Chicago Sky have been a lot better, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of like. I'll talk about 2 plays, but I kind of like, and they both combine for another play. But I like the Aces team totals to go over. I don't play a lot of first quarters just because they can be a little wonky at times. Yeah. But their first half team total is 40. I want to say 47, 48.5. I think the Aces definitely get to that number. The Sky, the difference between the early Sky before the All-Star break and the Sky after the All-Star break is really just one thing. They haven't really been that much better of they've been winning more games, but they haven't been that much better of a team as far as being able to slow anybody down. Before the All-Star break, they were giving up 82 points per game. After the All-Star break, they've given up 85 points per game. So three points difference, right? The teams they're allowing. But here's the biggest difference. Before the All-Star break, they was averaging 77 points per game.
Right.
After the All-Star break, 85 points per game. So it's been that 8 points of improvement. Mabry, it's been Kalia Copper being a little more consistent. It's been Courtney Williams playing a little bit better, right? So I think that they'll be able to keep up with the Aces in this one just a tad bit, and the Aces will come out and just try to run through you like they always do. So I see a lot of points in this game. I actually think this total was actually a tad bit too low, and I would look towards the over just because I like both team totals to go over, right? You look at this Sky team. I just mentioned the numbers, after the All-Star break and before the All-Star break. The team total right now is 77.5. And I think it's actually down to 76 on some books as well. They cleared the number all 3 times against the Aces earlier this season. It averaged 87 points per game. The Sky offense drastically improved. Their offensive rating went from 96.5 to 105.5. Wow. And it actually increased every single month since the month of June. And they're playing with more pace. Pace has also picked up just a tad bit every single month as well. You look at the Aces defense, and they could come out here and just say, you know what, we're going to turn up defensively. But before the All-Star break, it was a 95.6 defensive rating, which was the best in the league. And after the All-Star break, it's dropped to 100, right? So I think the sneaky play could be the Sky. They went over their team total in 12 of the 20 games since the All-Star break. So I think that could be the sneaky play. But Aces team total just looks too good for me. The full game is at 93.5, and we know that they religiously score 100 at home all the time. Yeah. So I think that they just lock in because they're focused now. They know what the mission is. Becky Hammond will have them ready to go. Their guards literally can't be stopped against this team, and we know what Asia Wilson can do down low as well. So I like both team totals to go over, which kind of leads me towards the over for the full game as well. So I think you could, maybe you take a unit and you just divide it by 3 and put it on all 3, because I do think that the Sky going to be able to keep this game close, even if they don't cover the spread. You got to be able to score 78 points. You have to be able to score 78 points. So that's the way I would look. Aces team total to go over, I think it's 93.5. Sky team total to go over 76, 77.5. And then the full game over 170.5 or whatever you can get the lowest number at.
Yeah, that's a good take. I actually said something similar to Tom before. I said, the Aces blow out teams, but those teams still put up 85 points. So the Aces are okay giving up points because they know they're going to outscore you on their offensive side. So this one could be a real shootout, especially if the first quarter gets going. If they don't come out slow, I could see the Aces sailing over 100 points in this game. So I like all those takes. Really good angles.
Yeah. And I love the Nuggets comp. I made the exact same comp to Dave on the phone earlier today.
Yeah, exactly. They're both elite. All right, Tom, what do you like in terms of matchups or players here?
All right, I like you mentioned her, Courtney Williams. The matchup's not elite, but here's what I'm looking at here. I think she is the dog on this team. Like she said it herself. This team's got nothing to lose. She was on the Sun last year and played the Aces in the finals last year. So I wanted to take a look and see. I had a feeling her field goal attempts would tick up, in the playoffs, and that's exactly what happened. She averaged 13.5 field goal attempts against Vegas in the 22 finals. When she had 13 plus field goal attempts this season, she's 7 for 7. When she had 12 plus field goal attempts, 9 for 11, and 4 for 4 of 4 on the road. When she had 11 plus field goal attempts, she's 13 for 17 and 7 for 8 on the road. She averaged 11.5 field goal attempts last postseason. I think she's a lock to get at least 11 field goal attempts here tonight. If you look at that series last year, game 1 was the only game that she didn't. She shot poorly. She was 2 for 9 from the field for 5 points, but games 2, 3, and 4, 18, 11, and 17, where she shot basically 50%, over 50% in every single game. So let's go with Courtney Williams over. I don't even know if I gave the lines 10.5 points.
10.5 points, yeah.
Over 10.5 points, yeah.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, so somebody has to score, and if I like this guy to go over the team total, somebody got to come out there and score the ball. Their new coach that took over for Coach Wade when he left to go be with the Toronto Raptors in the middle of the season. I think he's been one of the focal points for them kind of pushing the pace and being able to score. Courtney Williams is the point guard. She reminds me a lot of Chelsea Gray in the sense that she is the floor general out there. She's the Chris Paul. Yes. She makes that thing go. She pushes the pace when she needs to. She slows the game down. And the knock on the Aces would be their guards, right? Like their guards don't really defend that well. Can they defend? Absolutely. But when they're not playing their best brand of basketball and Sabrina Ionescu is hitting 6 threes, like their guards are the ones that's typically giving up. Asia Wilson just won AP Defensive Player of the Year, so I do think that Courtney should be able to take advantage of that matchup on the outside, maybe knock down a couple threes. She has a really good mid-range game as well, which is it looks really fluent when she shoots the ball. So I would only be able to talk you on to that over. It kind of correlates with their team total to go over for me. So yeah, Courtney Williams can score 25 as long as they go over the 77.5 points.
If she scores 25, I'm pretty sure they're sailing over that over. So we'll just take 11. All right, how about that? Chris, what do you like? Any player props in this game?
So I looking at the same side, I actually like Maria Mabry. I didn't play her, so it's just a strong lean, but she's been someone that's really shot the ball well against this Aces team as well. And we know to be able to kind of keep up with the Aces, kind of going back to Tom's point, you're going to have to score, right? Like if this is a low-scoring game, then I think the Sky absolutely get demolished, right? We don't want this to be a 83 to 59 type game, and I don't anticipate it to be. The Aces can play defense and stifle like that, but I think Mabry has to continue to shoot the ball really, really well, which is something that we've seen from her in the past throughout even throughout this season. I want to pull her number up really quickly because I want to say I had it up, but then I took it down. But so looking at her numbers just for this season against the Aces, she scored 22, 11, and 20 points. And 22, 11, and then 20 points. And it's really her, her ability to be able to shoot the three. I know the line is juice, so if you can take an alt line, I do like her to make at least 3 threes. She's had 2, 3, and 4 threes. She's going to be open. They need the points. It just kind of all makes sense. Her minutes, she hasn't played less than 30. I think she'll be out there, and she's one of those like X factor type players. So if you say you are buying in on 16.5 points is too many, you're betting on someone like her to have one of her better games than one of her worst games. And like we said, you as a dog coming into game 1, you kind of got like you really need to win game 1. Now I don't think that they will, but you got to have that mindset that hey, we can win game 1, and if they're going to win game 1, it's going to be because a lot of points are scored. So I like Mabry. I say all that to say that it's still just a lean, but if I'm playing any kind of player prop in this game, it's definitely Maria Mabry to go over her points prop and looking at her threes as well over the 2.5.
Yeah, that's nice. Like you said, they're going to come out loose. I mean, what do they have to lose, right? Nobody expects them to win, right? They really they barely made the playoffs. So like they really can just come out and just fire away. And if the shots start falling and they make it competitive, then the Aces are going to get worried. So I like that play. I think that's a good take for sure. Tom, what do you think about Elizabeth Williams here? Give me your take on her.
I like her. she's of all the matchups. Like we said, Vegas is great defensively. The one position you really can target them at is at the center position. I think I can pull it up here. I have. Sorry, I just lost it here. There we go. Yeah, I mean, right after Connecticut, since the All-Star break, center's averaging 15.5 points per game, just under 10 rebounds a game against Vegas. That coincides with the loss of Candace Parker quite a bit. So that is a spot that we can have some opportunity here. I like her over 9.5 points, minus 113. I like the minutes filters here because obviously at the playoffs, minutes will tick up. So we'll filter and look at her when she's played 30 plus minutes on the road. She's cleared in 7 of 8 this season. 32 plus minutes on the road, 6 of 7. 32 minutes overall, 10 of 11 games when she's played more than 32 minutes this season. So I think with the uptick in minutes and the strong matchup, I think she has a good shot to go over the 9.5 points here.
Yeah, and she played Aces 3 times this season, put up 8 points in the first, 12 in the second, 17 in the third. So she's on a trajectory to put up 20 tonight if she keeps that going.
That's a nice upward slope.
Yeah, exactly. Thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think Tom made some good points. I think because and it kind of makes sense, right? Like the Aces defense, how much more can you ask of Asia Wilson when she carries the offense on a nightly basis? They have that three-headed monster at guard, but it always feels like at least one of them is having an off night, whether it's Chelsea Plum, whether it's Kelsey Gray, whether it's Jackie Young. So Asia has to step up offensively when those shots aren't falling because she's so efficient. And I mean, how much more do you want her to do on the defensive end, right? Like so that's another kind of key angle I think that wasn't mentioned. But yeah, I would take her over as well. Hopefully she's down there battling, get a couple tip ins that would help this prop as well. And you would think that I'm not sure how Becky Hammond's going to do the minutes. I would expect Asia to be out there for a large majority, but if Asia gets switched on some of those guards, we know that the Aces aren't one of the bigger teams, and that's actually been one of their downfalls in the past, especially with losing Candace Parker. So I like the look, Tom. I like it a lot.
Thanks.
All right, very nice.
What do you got, Dave? You gotta have something for us here.
Yeah, let's move over to the Aces side, right? We talked about the 8th seed enough. Let's talk about the 1 seed here. So I really like Chris. I didn't tell you I'm a Duke guy, so we got 2 Dukies in this game with Elizabeth Williams, and the other one is Chelsea Gray. So I like Chelsea Gray here. Her line is 15.5 points, which is actually pretty high. Usually you would get her maybe at like 13.5, 14.5, but the line's 15.5. She played Chicago 3 times this season. She put up 19, 22, and 19. So she's cleared in all 3 of those games. Overall in the season, she's only cleared this line in 47% of games. But here's what I love the most. If you look at 22, she averaged 10.7 shot attempts and 13.7 points in the regular season. So 13.7 points. In the playoffs, she averaged 14.4 shot attempts, 21.7 points in the playoffs.
Wow.
So she basically
big game Chelsea, Dave. I like it.
added 8 points to her to her average in the playoffs. So I think she comes out firing again. And she really is the backbone. Like you said earlier, Chris, she's the backbone of this team with all these stars and, Asia MVP, probably 3 years in a row. She's the backbone because anytime they start falling apart, she's the one out there keeping them together. And also, I've brought this up on other shows, even in blowouts. So if this ends up being a 25-point blowout, usually you'll see Chelsea Gray still out there with the second team. So she'll still get her 35-plus minutes, even in a blowout situation. So I think 16 points is my play for Chelsea tonight. What do you think?
I absolutely love it. So what you're telling the people pretty much, Dave, is go ahead and get in on the number that we think is too high now because tomorrow it'll be too low.
Exactly.
Right? Like if we see this at 16.5, 17.5, it still might not be quite where we need it to be. But I would agree that, I mean, we're talking about champions, right? We're talking about players really taking their game and elevating it to the next level. We didn't see this, from to make a comparison to another league. We didn't see this from Jamal Murray until the playoffs actually started, right? Like it's no need to go, just pedal to the metal during the regular season. A player of her caliber that's been at the highest level, that's won at the highest level, knows what it takes and knows how to, strategically kind of limit herself and pull back when she needs to and then press that gas when she needs to. And, given that, I feel like the Aces got a lot to prove. They walk around, even though they lost even though they won the championship last year, they still walk around like nobody believes in them, right? And now you hear this talk about the Liberty, and I'm pretty sure they'll have a lot to prove, which is why I couldn't take the plus 16.5 with this guy.
I know. Yeah, I saw that article this morning on ESPN about the Liberty now being, potential favorites to win. And that's got it. They're reading that. I see Asia Wilson all over social media. So, she's seen that, and, that's going to motivate them for game one. So, all right, cool. You guys have any other player props for this game?
No.
No, I think that was it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we did a good job of covering them.
All right, cool. To you,
All
Tom.
right. You're good, Dave? No others? We're not going with any of those other Vegas guards? No?
No, the only other lean I had, Tom's forcing me to say it. I just liked, I like Jackie Young, 3.5 assists. There's going to be a massive number of points scored in this game, and I just liked her recency at home. She's cleared this line in 11 of her last 14 games at home. So Jackie Young's not an assist player; she's a scorer, right? So that's not the strength of her game. But when your team puts up 100 points, somebody's passing the ball, and she's out on the court a good amount of time. And whether by purpose or just swinging the ball around and somebody, puts up a three, she gets a lot of assists that way. So that's another angle you could take. A nice low line, 4 assists for Jackie.
I like it because I think when the Aces are their best is when the ball's moving. When they're playing one-on-one, ISO ball, 1-on-2, like that's when the ball stops. That's when they're not good. But when they're passing the ball around and they're moving, that's when they play their best. And I think that correlates to this to a Jackie Young assist play. So I like that, Dave. I think they're going to try to do that tonight because they want to get a good start, get a win here, and then kind of prove some of the doubters wrong.
Absolutely.
In that same mindset too, Dave and Tom, I think looking at Chelsea Gray assists, right? She could go over her points and her assists. I mean, she had 9 and 10 assists, and I want to say her line was at 7.5 as well.
Yep.
And whoever, one of you guys mentioned it, like when the Aces are playing their best basketball, that ball is moving around, and she's the head of the snake, right? She's the one throwing no look downs and throwing the no look passes, and really finding Asia, finding these other guards in their spot. So I think a play on her assists would be another lean for me as well. Like I said, she's cleared it. She definitely has more at home because the Aces score more at home as well throughout the entirety of the season. So I think a play on her assists as well. And then we didn't mention Asia Wilson rebounds.
I know.
Asia Wilson just continues to, she kills it on the rebound in front too. I mean, she just goes out there and plays with such high energy every single time. She has a really, really big motor. And none of these other guards really rebound the ball a lot. It's almost like they just leave the rebounds for Asia. And she says, you know what, I'll take that. I'll take care of that. I'll box everybody out. I'll grab that rebound. She gets offensive rebounds. I think her line's set at 9.5, and that's where it typically sets. And if we think that the Aces are going to play, a little bit more defense and lock in for this game, which I hope that they don't because I need this guy to go over the team total. But there is a way that Asia could get 25 and 12 tonight. That really wouldn't surprise any of us. And if she does, then that would clear this 9.5 rebounds as well. So just a lean there, just a lean on Chelsea Gray as well. But those are 2 player props that kind of stick out to me, just based on the matchup. And them not being able, Sky haven't been able to stop them at all. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a place we've targeted before, even going back to the NBA. Game 1 of playoff series, rebounds. It's some place we look because teams come out a little bit tight, miss shots. So there's more boards to go around. So that's nice. But I think that does it, right, guys?
We could talk for another 20 minutes, but I think we got to call it. So yes, it was a lot of fun having you on, Chris.
Yeah. It was a blast, like Dave said. Hope to have you back sometime soon. And looking forward to tonight's games. We're going to we'll circle the wagons here. We'll get a couple picks up on Twitter, and we'll lock these bets in, and we'll all make some money.
Sounds like a plan. Appreciate you guys having me on as well, man. Anytime you guys want to talk hoops, send me the message. I'll pop it on. I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning. I'm always there to talk some hoops with you guys.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris.